Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode. In last week's episode we were talking about A Christmas Carol. We analyzed the book to go over how it fit the 13 characteristics of a perfect novel. In today's episode I want to spend some time discussing 8 signs that you might be a writer. So if you ever thought about writing, these are 8 signs that indicate that you most likely are a writer and you might not even know it. So the first sign that you're a writer is, are you a great observer? So do you see things and subtleties of situations and scenarios in everyday life? Do you find the humor of them? Do you find like the seriousness? Do you find like the subtleties? Do you see where a situation kind of arose from more than anybody else or more than people that you know around you? So a great writer is able to really analyze any situation and to flesh out the sensory details of it. So what exactly did it smell like, sound like, look like? And again, what was the subtlety? So this helps a lot when describing characters and settings, atmosphere, and things like that. All the small little details that other people might look over. So when talking about characters, can you pick up on people's mannerisms, personality traits, tone of their voice, body language, all these things. So that really goes a long way when describing characters. So a great example, this is a little bit off topic because we've been talking about more serious classical literature, but a great example of great writing using observations is Seinfeld. So I believe one of the reasons why it remains so popular still is because Jerry Seinfeld and his writers were very, very good at observing everyday situations, and they were obviously leaning more towards the humor of it. But an example of this is the episode when they're in the Chinese restaurant and they spend a half-hour episode just with 4 characters waiting around for a table. So this is something that if you were ever in that situation, you probably wouldn't notice. You'd probably just think that you're annoyed and frustrated with having to wait. But they fleshed out every small nuance in that situation, and they really brought it to life. So the first sign that you are a writer is that you're a great observer, and you see, hear, notice things that other people don't. The second sign that you're a writer is this idea of a call of destiny. So this voice inside your head won't let you not write. So wherever you go, whatever you do, there's this voice saying pick up the pen, or it's writing ideas in your head. It's curious, thinking about books, thinking about where these authors got their ideas from, all of those things. So no matter what you do, that voice is always there. So if you're working, if you're socializing, whatever you do, it's like there's this emptiness that won't go away that wants you to write, and you're not gonna feel fulfilled until you do. So along these lines, the third sign that you're a writer is that you've tried everything else. So again, it's this call of destiny. You've tried everything else. You might have tried the traditional 9-to-5, a blue-collar job, going to school, doing something for a few years, maybe going back to school, and there's just this constant shifting because you're trying to fulfill something in your head that you're not able to until you write. So you might be scared of the idea of writing, or think maybe it's not the most productive use of my time because it won't immediately make me money or get me to where I want to be. So you kind of suppress that voice, but it's going to keep coming up again and again. So a quote that I like is from Hunter S. Thompson, where he said something that he couldn't not be a writer because he tried everything else. So he tried, I believe he's working on a railroad and tried all these traditional jobs where he was really, really unhappy. And no matter what he did, it came back to writing, and he just had to do that. So he said he tried everything else, and he had no choice but to be a writer. So the next sign that you are a writer is this inexplicable talent. So a lot of writers and authors that I've read about and studied, they seem to be anomalies in their families. So there might not be any traces or lineages of creativity in their family. So a lot of these authors come from parents who do something completely different than writing, just completely unrelated. But for some reason they're very much inclined to writing and creativity. So not knowing where that comes from at all. And I think that's what makes it interesting. You obviously don't have to know. It's just, I think it's a strong sign that you're meant to do this. So if it kind of comes out of nowhere. And if you really stop and think about it, you might be able to trace some of the roots of this. Maybe something in your life really sparked an interest or turned you on to the idea of writing. Again, that's not really important. I think it just shows that it's really, really strong inclination that you have towards writing if you can't even explain this talent. So from the family I come from, I'm the youngest of 3, so there's 5 of us total, and everybody in my family is scientific and math brain. So that's what their strengths are. And we're complete opposite, where I struggle in those subjects. They kind of excel in them, but they can't really write either. They have no idea where to start, so it's inexplainable. The next sign that you are a writer is these stories write themselves in your mind. So if you're prone to daydreaming, if you're sitting in class or sitting at work or driving, walking, exercising, and you're going again towards this idea of writing, and these stories seem to write themselves, so maybe you start with just like a spark of an idea for a plot, and then it starts to flesh itself out more into characterization, and then you see these characters more clearly and evolves over time, and the plot itself and the story and everything kind of hashes itself out in your mind. And if you let this go on long enough and you're actively engaging in this storytelling in your own mind, you'll be able to write pretty much a whole novel. Then it just becomes, you have the skeleton of it and you have to just flesh it out on paper. So if you find yourself always writing ideas in your mind, even without your prompting it to do so, that's a great sign that you're a writer. So a lot of these stories too evolve and create over through sleep. So when you're sleeping, you might wake up the next morning and just this thoughts there that you have no idea where it came from. Which leads me to the next sign that you're a writer, is you don't know where these ideas come from. So you have no idea why you thought of this character, why you thought of this plot, how you dreamed up this imaginary world. You just have no idea. Again, if you trace it, if you took the time to trace it, maybe it was something that slipped in your subconscious, a conversation you had, a TV show you watched, a movie you saw, anything. So you might be able to find some hints at where this came from, but in general you don't know where these ideas came from. So I've written things, and it's strange to me looking back on it that my name is affixed to the title, and it's on the cover of a book or something I've written, because I have no idea how I thought of a certain idea or character, and I don't remember even writing them. So the seventh sign that you are a writer is a love of reading. So this starts, in a lot of authors, it starts at an early age, just loving to be told stories, to read, to engage in these other worlds, these rich plots and imaginations of other authors. So it starts with a love of reading, and there you'll learn how to structure, how to pace, how to characterize, how to create mood setting and things. So the more you read, especially different authors, you'll get different perspectives and different insights into the writing process. But it all has to start with a love of reading. And the eighth and final sign that you are a writer is, more than a love of reading and storytelling, is a love of language itself. So are you fascinated by the etymology of words, where they come from, how people develop the language, how they develop words, root words, how the language is built upon itself, all those things. So it's fascinating to me to think that there's 26 letters in the alphabet, in the English alphabet, and there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of words to choose from. And there's a word for every occasion, it seems. It's just very, very fascinating to me. So along with etymology, do you love vocabulary? Are you the type of person, when you encounter a new word in a book, you have to write it down and look it up? Do you love learning new words because you feel a little bit stronger as a writer and you can incorporate these words into your writing? If you have that love of language, of etymology and vocabulary, that is also a strong sign that you are a writer. So that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Please like and subscribe this video, and please tune in for more content like this.